I'd like to call this meeting of the Hindley Holmes and Royle Building Committee to order at 6:01 p.m. on June the 25th, 2025. Good evening, everybody. Hopefully nobody's air conditioning has broken down. First thing we need to do is approve the meeting minutes from the meeting on May the 21st. Could I get a motion to approve? Sarah moves. Rob seconds. All in favor? Great. Does not look like we have anyone here from the public for public comment. Two things on the chair's report I'd like to take up. The first thing I'd like to do, it came to the attention of Linda O'Leary that we had, with Dave Martin's passing and then with Jill McCammon dialing it back a little bit because there's some things going on in her personal life, we needed to add some signatories. And we thought the most logical was Rob Cardone and Sarah Neumann, as they are the liaisons from the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen, respectively. I thought we had voted on that. Linda couldn't find evidence of that. So what I'd like to do, and she got some pushback from the state, I believe. What I'd like to do is get a motion to modify the agenda for tonight's meeting to add an item to the agenda that specifically authorizes the committee's liaisons from the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance to be authorized signatories for any items that need approval by the building committee. So if I could get a motion to modify the agenda to that effect. I got Jameson moves, Tom seconds. All in favor? Great, that's unanimous. So while we're at it, why don't we go ahead and take up that matter? I'd like a motion to authorize the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen liaisons to the HHR Building Committee to become authorized signatories for any matters that require HHR BC written approval prior to being paid. Could I get that motion? Jameson moves, Tom seconds. All in favor? Unanimous. That's terrific. What I'll do is I'll circulate a revised version of the signature authorization memo.
Please, Chris. Thank you.
After this meeting, I'm sorry. The other thing I'd like to do, and is this touches Scott Torrey and Dave Cravanzola. What I'd like to do, back in December, if you recall, we did an update memo to Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, and the RTM of the town. And you guys produced really, really great summaries on a school-by-school basis. In that memo, I had said that I would update it when we had reached about 50% completion, which, judging from the financial report that Josh had sent around, we are pretty close to that. This isn't like a we have to do it tomorrow thing. I think if we can get it done during July, we're good. I'm going to be away next week, so I'm not going to be able to start working on it until after the 4th anyway. But if you guys could dust off those summaries that you had done back in December and bring them up to date, we basically just attached them to my cover memo. So if we could shoot to do something, at or around the time of the next building committee meeting, that would be great.
Sure.
Thank you. With that, Scott, I'll turn it over to you. If you could give a quick update on how we're doing, timeline, project status, look ahead, et cetera, for the group.
Yeah, sure. Like Dave said, everybody really hit the ground running as soon as school was done. Everyone was chomping at the bit to get into those buildings, and basically the next day it looked like, we had been in there all year. So things are moving along really well. It's been pretty much a whirlwind in there for the first week and a half that we've had all 3 of these schools. So far everything is going to plan. We haven't really uncovered anything Too crazy. There's been a couple of things. There's some asbestos that was uncovered over at Royle, heading down the corridor towards the building we have to take down. Not a lot, not a There shouldn't be a crazy cost to it, and I don't think there's going to be any crazy timeline added to this
Was
work
that
as
something
well.
just discovered once you guys got in the building earlier last week?
Well, it's basically was up way up above the ceiling, and once we started peeling ductwork out of there, that's when this was uncovered. It's
Okay,
some like mastic type substance on a
right,
odd covered board above the ceiling. Again, not a tremendous amount, but it's going to have to be tented off and abated. So there's a little bit of time involved. Again, I don't think it's going to be detrimental to the overall timeline of our work. But it does need to be done. And then over at Hindley, we discovered where we were removing some of these old cabinets they didn't appear to be built-ins, but they were built-ins. The plaster behind these cabinets, um, is pretty non-existent. They stopped at the scratch coat and then put the cabinets in and then put the finish coat above the cabinets. So we're going to have a little bit of drywall work that wasn't anticipated behind some of these removed cabinets. Again,
right.
not a tremendous amount of work and not a huge timeline issue, but it is some stuff that had come up that we
Okay.
uncovered. Other than that, everything, like I said, is moving well. The additions are all in good shape. We're really starting to get them buttoned up now as far as finishing flooring, painting, um, getting blinds put in and et cetera, ceilings closed up. They're all kind of falling in line around the same timeline as getting finished. So things are looking good inside. Um, so no real issues there. I don't see any issues with us, finishing in time for furniture moving.
Yeah, speaking of which, Travis, how does that look at this point based on furniture for the new additions?
They told us it's coming in, and we haven't heard anything different. So
Okay, okay.
they promised it. Yep,
Well, no, the most importantly, they haven't called up and said they doesn't look like they're going to make it, right?
correct. Yep.
All
No, I
right,
haven't heard
good,
anything on my end and or from Kevin.
good, good.
So
That's great news.
yep.
On the exterior of Hindley, the pump station was installed this week, as well. So that's another big item, that had people worried about getting in time. So that's installed. And that went in pretty well. Um, one, I don't want to dive too deep into change orders, but the soil over at Holmes, I've done my best to try to mitigate that cost, but have come up pretty short on it. I
Okay,
thought we had a plan to get that reduced. The hygienist, the town, the hygienist that the town has on site, doing the monitoring of all of the building work, said that plan wouldn't work for our site. The problem is that it's a method that can be used, but only if you're on a very large site with a lot of material where you could set up an actual operation for reducing the amount of material. We just don't have enough material to go through that permitting and cost to do that work for what we have to get rid of.
right,
So unfortunately, I tried to get the soil retested numerous times, and miraculously, the last time it was tested, it's come back, worse than ever, and it's the whole pile.
great.
Um,
Um,
I pushed as hard
so
as I
where is that?
could.
Where is getting that done? Leaving aside, and we can talk about the change order and the cost in a second, but where does getting that done fit in kind of the critical path items at that school?
It's in the backyard, and we're not giving that backyard back this year, so there's no real awful scenario for us to get rid of it,
Okay.
um, except for the cost.
Right. But we just got to do it. Yeah. Remind me, I think it was 85,000 roughly
Well,
ballpark, and you were you thought you could get it down, but then it sounds like you can't.
I had plugged in like 98,000. I think it's going to I'm hoping to get it into that $80,000 range.
Okay. All right.
We're they're currently looking for, searching different avenues of people who will take this material.
Okay.
So I'm hoping to have a cost on that this week.
And I apologize that I missed the last OAC. Where did things stand in terms of the starting the brick repointing at Royle, at least within the courtyard area?
I had them start.
Okay.
I did have them start there in the courtyard. It's got to be done. There's a lot of brick that's in bad shape. And listen, if you guys want to pull the plug on it after that, as far as cost wise goes, that's
No, but I
fine.
think you were going to break that out as its own, based on the unit cost, that you were going to break that out as its own PCO. I think, I obviously by myself have no ability to authorize doing anything, but I think we'll find a way to get to a resolution on the rest of the repointing that needs to be done. But I
Yeah, I
recognize
do
that
too.
doing that work within the courtyard is a critical path item.
It was, and there's in the big picture, it's needed and would have to be done. It would have to be done sooner than later. So I think doing it now is just the way to go. And like I said, if we decide that, we don't want to spend the rest of the money on the rest of the building right now, the rest of the building is very accessible at a
Right.
later date. So
Understood.
I
Okay.
think we'd be okay with that.
Anything from the committee in terms of questions for Scott or things that you want him to elaborate on? Um, Financial report.
Well,
This is
Chris,
kind of what I'm sorry, go ahead.
before you move on, as you were talking about missing the last OAC meeting, I didn't know if there's two things going forward. We talked about this in the meeting. Our next OAC meeting falls on July 4th. We're going to move it to July 11th.
Oh, okay.
Um, and we're going to subsequently move ahead 2 weeks from that July 11th date.
Okay.
All right. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about going forward before we go too far forward is seeing that it's summertime and it seems like we've had some low participation in the OAC meeting. Would you guys want to entertain changing that day? Is the Friday not working? People going to take long weekends in the summer? Like I just,
Right. Yeah. Friday may, I mean, me personally, has become not great because of some work items that I have going on. So like Wednesdays, for example, might be better, but maybe, have John poll the invitees and see if moving it to, for example, a Wednesday morning might be a better move.
yeah, I just think with the summertime and like I said, people trying to have a little bit of fun this summer, other than all the fun that we're having.
Well, is there any more fun? I
No
mean,
way.
right. Um,
So yeah, I'll have John send something out.
but yeah, I mean, I think that's the best way to do it. That actually, purely from my standpoint, would be a big help because I've now got something going on most Friday mornings, so it's going to be difficult,
Yeah,
or
I'd like to have you
getting
at the
more
meetings.
difficult. I'm sorry.
I would like to have you at the meetings, actually.
I understand that. So, okay, let's figure that out.
Okay, great.
Let me just bear with me 1 second. Okay. Let me just give me 1 second to put something in my calendar. Okay. Financial report. This is what prompted me to say I think I needed to update our report memo. In round rough numbers, we're getting pretty close to 50% total spend. I don't know if we need to necessarily go through this on a line item by line item basis. I think Josh is doing a great job in terms of producing the snapshots for us to look at. Rob, was there anything that you wanted to comment on? I mean, I think we continue to be in a good place from the owner's contingency budget and the CM contingency budget. We're still, we still only utilized about 15% of the owner's contingency at Hindley and Holmes and 25% at Royle. Although it sounds like some of that may accelerate at Royle, or it may accelerate at Holmes because of the hazardous materials. And then on the CM contingency, we haven't really hit that barely at all. So
Yeah,
far so good.
I think the comments I would make probably, Chris, is, echoing to the Board of Finance that we're still on time, on budget. Talked about the CM and the owners contingency still being in a really good spot. Scott, I would ask on that asbestos, would that come out of contingency then?
It could.
As versus what?
Yeah, versus what? I mean,
Versus
it's certainly unplanned, right?
it's either the owner contingency or the CM contingency, right? So,
Right. I mean, it's
Um,
it's
it's coming.
ultimately
Yeah.
all our money. So yeah.
Yeah. No, but back to the original question, Chris. Yeah, I mean, I'm share these numbers. Back to Josh for a second. I thought he's gotten up to speed really quick. Really happy. I wouldn't expect anything less than Jen making a super hire. And he's a good guy, knows it, and he's up to speed pretty quickly.
Yep.
What more could he
That's-
ask for? But
That's my sense.
yeah, it's good stuff. But once again, like I said, that's what's been communicated, Board of Finance. We have a couple members that have been on these committees and run, pretty smoothly. So they get it.
Now, are you sharing this report
Yep.
with okay, perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that's great.
At one point, Chris, at one point we talked about you and Jill like presenting to the Board of Finance. I think they're incredibly comfortable right now with the amount of data, like between me giving it to them and these monthly reports, especially how we've melted them. Like,
Right.
if you want to call it that, between Josh and the other work that's being done by you guys. So yeah, I think they're happy and it's transparency. That's what it's all
Okay.
about all the time.
Yeah, but of course, if it would help, if it would help to go through it, there's no reason that we can't put together a presentation for them. We can do that. So
Yeah, maybe in the fall. Maybe let's get through the heaviness, if you want to call it, of the August of the summer construction,
Mhm.
right? And then what do we look like September, October? Maybe something in Q4.
Okay.
Because then we're past halfway. We're past the summer. You and I could talk offline about that, but maybe.
I mean, once we're through this summer phase, I mean, we really only have, basically at all the schools, like half of the older buildings left to really dive into.
Yeah.
Because we'll have half of it basically uncovered up to this, to the December phase. So as far as big surprises, I don't think we really should find much more, because the 90s wings essentially will be done in all the buildings. Which was really, there was no real surprises there, and it's just adding the unit ventilators and stuff like that. So I think we'll be in good shape by, like you said, end of the summer. I think you have a good feel about what we're going to spend going forward.
Yeah, it feels right about like a Q4 update for the, not Chris, just not for our board. Maybe if we want to do the same thing for Board of Selectmen, just thinking of Q4, October, November, December event.
Good idea. Happy to do it.
Super. Thanks for the question.
A couple of action items. The first thing is the pay applications, which, based on the calendar, Scott would get paid next Wednesday, the 2nd, by the town. Can I get a motion to approve pay application number 13 dated May 31st, 2025 for the Hindley Elementary School in the amount of $1,486,056.22?
So moved.
Moved. Can I get a second? Jameson seconds. All in favor? Thank you. Unanimous. Could I get a motion to approve pay application number 13 for the Royle Elementary School dated May 31st, 2025 in the amount of $1,578,226.77? Tom moves, Jameson seconds, all in favor?
Second, aye.
Aye, so that's unanimous. Could I get a motion to approve pay application number 13 dated May 31st, 2025 for the Holmes Elementary School in the amount of $1,476,012.45. Tom moves, Rob seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, great. The next thing to take up is the G701 change orders. As you guys recall, what this does is this aggregates the individual change orders that have been reviewed on an ongoing basis, primarily by Jameson and Paul Harding, after they've been reviewed and approved by KG&D. And then these will become part of the next pay application, which will be the June pay application, which we would be taking up in the July meeting. The first one that we have is change order number 3. If I could get a motion to approve change order number 3 dated May the 2nd, 2025 for the Hindley Elementary School, which actually, if I read this, Scott, is a reduction of the contract sum, amount of $3,214.
I'd have to look. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I could pull it up. Hold on.
Which is a good thing. It looks like,
This was for Holmes?
yes. So before we make a motion, let's make sure I got this right. I apologize for not having called in advance on this one. I'm looking at the G701s. So I'm sorry, this is Hindley.
Okay.
It looks like there's a net decrease of 3,214. Because it says the contract sum prior to the change order was 29,265, decreasing it by 3,214. The new contract sum 29,262.
Yep.
Okay. So I am reading this correctly. All right.
Yeah. Just trying to look quick to see what the deduct was.
Yeah, I don't have
It's a
all the backup in front of me.
$5,000 deduct off of the millwork. That's what it
Right,
was.
okay.
There was only a couple changes here.
Okay.
Yep, there was one ad for some gypsum work. And then there was the $5,000 deduct for combining the millwork pricing.
Right. Okay. All right. So then let me redo this. Let me redo the motion. Get a motion to approve change order number 3 for the Hindley Elementary School dated May the 2nd, 2025, which decreases the contract sum in the amount of $3,214. Could I get a motion for that? Tom moves, Jameson seconds, all in favor? Great. Secondly, could I get a motion to approve change order number 3 for the Holmes Elementary School dated April 25th, 2025, which increases the contract sum in the amount of $3,879. Tom moves, Jameson seconds, all in favor? Aye. Great. Can I get a motion to approve change order number 3 dated April 25th, 2025 for the Royle Elementary School, increasing the contract sum by the amount of $17,998? Sarah moves, Rob seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Great. That was it for items that we had to take action on. Sarah, I note on the agenda that you showed July 19th as the next meeting. I think that should be July 16th for everybody's benefit, because the 19th is a Saturday.
Oh, then yeah. Yeah, that would make
Okay.
sense. Sorry about that. Yes, I
No
will
worries.
change that for the minutes. Thank you.
And that's all I have for this evening. Is there anything that anybody either on the committee or the design and construction teams or Ross Cooper have that they would like to go over before we move to adjourn?
Nope.
All good? Thank you very much, everybody. Again, design and construction team, keep it up. Great work. And I hope everybody has a really nice 4th of July. I don't think we'll be speaking before them. I'm going to be out in the Canadian Rockies next week with my wife.
Enjoy, Chris.
Awesome.
Thank you. Everybody have a wonderful upcoming weekend and a wonderful 4th of July. Thanks, everybody.
You as
Can I
well,
get a
Chris.
motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Rob moves, Tom seconds, all in favor.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Good
Chris.
night.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks,
Bye.
Chris.
Everyone.
You, I'm good. Nice to see you.